Okay, so first we've got Rudbeckia hirta here, and this is Herbsville, which is a lovely yellow and coffee coloured Rudbeckia. It's going to be like mini sunflowers. Okay, so they grow 70 centimetres high, but they're a lot more usable than sunflowers because they've got thinner stalks. We'll be growing sunflowers as well, don't worry, later in the year, but these are beautiful, and they're a perennial, which means that they will keep coming back time and time again once you've sowed them. So these, we won't actually put these ones, these are an exception. We won't put these out into the garden until the end of May, beginning of June, right? So we're treating them, we'll put them out almost as if they're a half hardy annual. So they're a little bit more tender when they're babies, but we're going to sow them now because perennials just take longer to get going. So I am going to sow some of these today. I am just going to sow 3 of each today in my tray, and I will probably sow a whole heap more when we get to the catch-up cut flower patch weekend. But at the moment I'm literally going to sow 3 of each and see how they do, and then I can come back and pop another seed in if these don't germinate for any reason. So just check the back of the packets for each one. So this one needs light for germination. So in these modules, so you can see here, I love that we have 5 seeds in every packet, and so we have 5 different types of plants in every packet, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So I'm just going to do literally 3 of each. My aim is that I sow them in here. I'm literally just picking up 1, even though they're tiny seeds. Your little finger is quite good for this usually. Hopefully you can see that. Just picking them right up in my little finger, popping it into the soil, on top of the soil. Done. I know it's really tempting to just sprinkle the seeds, and I do that sometimes actually, to be honest. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can either sprinkle the seeds and then just thin out the ones that don't germinate. In fact, you know what, I'm going to put a couple in. See, I can't resist it. So what I'll do is you can put 2 or 3 in each. Okay, I'm going to put 3. Look at me changing as I go. Now I'm pretty confident with our seeds because I've been growing these seeds for long enough that I know the germination rate is really good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sow 3, and then I might prick them out, but chances are I'll just thin them out, which means that I'll let 3 of them grow, and then when I see which looks like the best one, I will just pull out the other 2 and let the other one grow, so it'll fill its module. And then by the time it gets to the time to put it out in the garden, we'll be able to tip this out. It'll be a really healthy plug plant. It'll hold all the soil together, and we'll just be able to plant it directly into the soil. Honestly, you've got so many of these in here that if you did have to throw a couple away, then it wouldn't be the end of the world. Now I'm doing this because I'm on the video. This is one of my biggest mistakes I make, trying to get the seeds back in the packet over the soil, right? And then you end up with like seeds germinating that you're not quite sure what they are because you spilled them in the soil. So that's my Rudbeckia. Job done, that's it. Now my soil is already quite moist. If yours wasn't, you can either water it from below by pouring some water underneath here and leaving it for half an hour and then tipping the water out. Or what you can do, this is just how I do it, is I've got a little kid's sippy cup, you know, or sports cup, and I just really gently water the soil kind of around the outside with the sippy cup so that I don't wash the seeds away. Now, because we're not mass producing thousands, if we were a flower farmer, then obviously you wouldn't have the time to coddle your seeds like that, but we do, so that's what I do. Right, the next one we're going to come to is the Malope. Now the Malope, I think this is why the February flower kit has been so popular, because there is a picture of me floating around with a massive armful of white flowers, and those are Malope, right? I just loved them. I'd never grown them before. They were amazing. They flowered and flowered and flowered and flowered. Last year I only grew white. This year we've got a mix of colours. So now some places when you look, it says this is a half hardy annual, which means it's not that tough. And some places you look, it says it's a hardy annual, which means it is tougher. So if you look on the back of the seed packet, it says you shouldn't plant these out into the garden until late May or after your last frost, which for me is the last week of May. But on the other hand, it says they're a hardy annual. So what I'm going to experiment this year. All right, so you can either experiment with me or sow your seeds right at the end of February or the beginning of March. Let them grow on and put them into the garden at the end of May, beginning of June, if you want to be on the safe side. Okay, I'm going to experiment a little bit this year, so I am going to sow some now, and I'm going to put them out at the end of the March, and I'm going to see how they do. Okay, if I realise that's an absolute terrible mistake, I will let you know, but gardening is all about experimenting. Okay, so these grow about 90 centimetres high. They flower and flower and flower and flower. They are just beautiful. So these ones we have to cover lightly. So make sure I don't get my seed packets mixed up. Now these seeds are slightly larger, right? So I'm going to sow these again on a cut flower patch weekend. They are a mixed colour. So if you want to guarantee that you get a mix of colours, I mean, it'd be highly unlikely that I'd pull just 3 pink ones out of here, right, and no white. But what I'll probably do when I sow these for real, right, in a couple of weeks' time, is I'll probably sow a whole tray of these, right, because I love them, and I'll find places for them around my garden, and you won't know until they start flowering what colour they are. So it's a bit of a gamble, but I think I don't know why I think if I sow loads I'll have more choice, because I actually only have place for 3, I think, in my cutting garden itself. So it is going to be random, but I don't know, I just feel like sowing more. So with these, because the seeds are quite big, I am only going to sow 1 of these in each of these modules. I literally want to sow 300 of these. I'd have a whole field of these if I could. Right, and it says cover gently with soil, but I'm literally, again, because I'm not sowing thousands of them, I can see where my seed is. I'm just going to make sure it's got a slight covering of soil over it. Firm it down to make sure it's got contact. Brilliant. Okay. So if you are watching this video, because I'll probably post this again so I don't sow these ones again on camera in the catch-up cut flower patch weekend, if you're sowing these and it's the middle of February, or you're watching this before you sow them, you might want to, what sometimes is a good idea is to get this tray of compost and take it into the house for a couple of days or even a week before you sow, so it's had a chance to warm up a little bit. Then you can moisten it and then you can sow into it. It just means, like, my seeds are going into quite cold, damp compost right now, which is never a great idea. But I know they're going straight into the house after this, and they'll warm up quite quickly there. So you can do it that way around as well. Okay, Phacelia is the next one I'm going to come to here. Now this grows like a monster, this thing. I started some off in autumn and the plants are huge already. Mainly it's actually used for green cover, like a manure cover. But it does produce the most amazing flowers, and it's really quick and easy to grow, which is why I wanted to include it. It has beautiful purpley bluey flowers. So this says on the back of the packet to direct sow it, which you can do, right? Wait till the end of February, direct sow it, and then just thin it out. Absolutely fine, no problem at all. I always have a disaster when I direct sow, so I don't direct sow. I do everything undercover. Plus I like seeing the little seedlings grow up, right? It does mean they get handled more than they might like, but it's never been a problem for me with seeds that apparently don't like being handled. So hey ho, you can follow my bad example and sow it inside, or you can wait and sow it outside. So now I sowed, I think, 6 of these, and I've already had to pull 2 of them out because they've got so big, they're just swamping everything in the garden. So the spacing here says 30 centimetres, so do make sure you leave that for them. So with these, again, I am actually only going to sow 1 each because I already have some. I know that these things grow like crazy. And these ones are covered to 1 centimetre deep. Okay, so what I should probably have done then, if I'd read the packet before I sowed them, I would have just dug a little hole with a dibber or a seed thing. In fact, I'm going to do that now. Pop them in, cover them over. Right, so if I'd read the instructions before, Just shows how badly you can do things and still get away with it. There, so they're about a centimetre deep, roughly. Done. That's my Phacelia. And then, again, I'm doing it over the soil, which is dreadful, especially with these things. Oh, put all my seed packets in the wet. So lemon mint. So mint, any kind of mint, will grow like crazy, and it will spread everywhere, right? So you need to be careful where you plant this when you plant it out. So we're going to start it off under cover. I am going to move this into containers, into pots. I am not going to put this in my flower bed. So if I put it in my flower bed, it will take over the whole bed, right? Like mint is crazy like that. Now there are clever ways of blocking off your ground with bricks or wood underneath the ground to make sure that the roots cannot get to the other part of your garden bed. I don't want to risk it, and I'm too lazy, so I'm just going to put them in a big container once they're ready to go out in the garden. So this one's going to be great because you'll be able to use it like in your gin and tonics as well. So let me read the packet this time. So cover lightly. So all I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put one in each again. Actually, I'm going to go for 3 again with these. Honestly, this is not a science, as you can tell. I mean, it probably should be. Some growers are very scientific about how they do it. I'm much more like just, I don't know, just letting your intuition tell you, let your gut tell you, let you just play, to be playful with it. That's what it is. Much more into being playful with it and seeing what happens, rather than taking it all far too seriously and trying to do it right all the time. Got loads of seeds. You can give it another go if it doesn't work the first time. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that can happen is, I mean, I could sprinkle some soil over here, but it's on the other side of the greenhouse, so I'm just literally meshing it around. And again, once these grow, if I get 3 seedlings in each of these pots, I'll just probably throw 1 away, throw 2 away. What the worst that can happen is they don't come up, you have a cry and then you sow some more, or they come up, the slugs eat them, you cry, you sow some more. You put them out in the garden, the wind and the snow destroy them, you cry, you sow some more. That's what gardening is all about, in my book. Canterbury Bells. Now these are usually, quite often, blue. But I found some pink ones which looked absolutely amazing. So I haven't grown pink ones before, so I am going for it with you guys, and I'm going to try and grow some. But they're like tall spires covered in pink bells, and the bees love them too. So I'm going to put some of these in my main garden, and I'm going to put them in my cutting patch as well. So we sow these on the surface because they need light for germination, and they're really simple actually. So these ones, I did sow some in the winter, and sometimes they're a bugger to get these to germinate. And they are quite small seeds. So with these, I mean, sometimes they just don't germinate, right? Like, and it might have been, who knows, right? It might have been the soil was too damp. It might have been that the gods weren't smiling that day. All sorts of reasons, right? So these are teeny tiny seeds. So best I can, I'm going to do 3 or 4 of these in each little module, and then I will just prick these ones out probably. I mean, gosh, if all of these grew, I mean, who needs 20 of these? Not me, right? And that's definitely what I've probably just sown there. But I can prick them out, I can thin them out, I can give them away to my neighbours. And this way, if I do some that are just like 1 in each module, I can show you like what it's like to have 1 in each module as they grow. The ones where I've got 2 or 3 in each module, then together we can just thin them out. And then these ones we can prick out together, so you can see what that is as well when I prick them out. There you go. February seeds sown. Like I say, if you can wait a couple of weeks, it'll be even better. But if you can't, just go for it and just follow what I've done here. And then you might want to pull out your other hardy annual seeds and sow those all in the middle of February when we all sow together. So post your pictures, love to see what you're doing in the Facebook group. Let's all grow together.